Alright, what's going on, guys? I am PoeLab. I'm joined here by my co-host, the Paleo Gamer, and we're going to bring you guys some Poe news. So, Paleo, what do we have in the news today, man?
We've got a bunch of shit. It's really, really good. A lot of improvements to the passive tree and elemental conversion area and one-handed and stuff. So start off with like passive tree.
Alright, so improvements of passive tree. There's a lot of improvements through various clusters. Mostly, from what we read, it's over in between, let's go with the Duelist and the Shadow, that far right side. All up in the Ranger. So, see, some physical to cold conversions have been added to passive tree near the Ranger area. This allows for the skills like Ice Shot and Frostblades to have more conversion to cold than ever before. I think we might see some new builds come about this. What do you think? Think it'll be strong enough to do that?
You know, I really like. I used Ice Shot as like when I race and a little bit while leveling. And Frostblade's kind of the same way, a little bit while leveling. The thing that Frostblades and Ice Shot both have in common is that they're kind of shit for single target. Maybe with full conversion to elemental, they might not be as bad, but I still don't. I think they'll be good for like leveling and such, maybe, but I just don't foresee them being endgame still.
Yeah, we'll see what happens there. Maybe Math will get a wild hair.
Yeah.
So what else we got, Paleo?
We've got some elemental clusters being added, which is pretty cool near the ranger skill tree. Because right now, if you look at the skill tree, it's just all physical down at the bottom right hand side. And the weird thing about that is like the ascendancies like Pathfinder, they're pretty heavily eccentric for elemental things. But in order to get elemental damage, you have to like go all the way to Witch, or like go up towards Shadow, and you don't really get anything for staying or like at the bottom right hand and bottom left hand side of the screen or of the passive tree. So I like that they're adding clusters there. It looks like they're allowing you a little bit more flexibility for skill trees, which is really, really good. It's what a lot of people have been asking for.
Hopefully they bring back that legacy, what is it, Wind Ripper.
That would be interesting.
That would be pretty interesting with that.
That's another thing. It might actually allow a lot of the older uniques that were like heavily like things like Wind Ripper, like heavy elemental damage. It might actually allow them to be better now, depending on how good the clusters are. Whether it might just be damage, but it also might be maybe some cool stuff with it. Maybe not just pure damage.
Right. Alright, so the area between the Shadow and Ranger have been made more efficient and less restrictive while also improving the efficiency of clusters in that section of the tree.
Which is good.
Pretty straightforward there.
Yeah, there's a couple times while making, like, if you ever do like a lot of pathing and a lot of builds, there's always like there's like one set path to go through around that area. So it really helps that they're making it a bit less restrictive, which is nice. I like that.
Alright, what else we got? We got the thick skin cluster now attaches to the outside perimeter.
This is something people have been asking for so much, and they're getting it. Every other cluster that's in the same spot all over the other sides of the skill tree have had this connection path, and for whatever reason, GGG is just now doing it. So awesome that they're adding it, but it should have been done 5 patches ago.
Yeah, now I might actually go and get Graceful Assault. What was that node that was right here? There was something else that was right here. Someone was telling me maybe a sword node or something.
There's a sword cluster, but the problem is that's getting moved over. Like we'll talk about that a little bit later. But that cluster is getting moved over towards the actual sword cluster itself. And they said they're joining it with the sword cluster, which is Brutal Blade and Slashing Comeback. And I know a lot of times when you go Brutal Blade, you only go, or a lot of times when you go Swords, you typically only go Brutal Blade. I don't know how many people go the Slashing Comeback just because it's like so little damage and so little efficiency per node.
Right.
But if they're adding this crit wheel into that, if they're not nerfing any of the stats there, that'd be amazing.
That'd be pretty cool to see. I want to see what the swords do.
And then we're getting some love for Mind Over Matter. And I don't know how much Mind Over Matter you've done, but I did a Mind Over Matter build the very first character last league, and I played hardcore. And it was a Mind Over Matter, Pathfinder, life-based Blade Vortexer, and I actually felt like it was very, very, very tanky for what it was. Like I had no close deaths at all up till level 91, and the only reason that character died was because I was fighting at Ziri and I whirling blades into the mirror on accident because I'm bad. I don't know. I've killed myself twice to that mirror, and it's funny because I had said that I had never killed myself to the mirror, and then I'd done it twice now ever since I said that. It's fucking bad karma. Yeah, have you done any mom builds?
No. I've
Well,
never done one.
They're adding some
but
mana behind it.
But my big thoughts on that, like, okay, so I play softcore. Obviously, you know, I'm probably not going to play Mind Over Matter too much, but the fact that they're comparing this to kind of like blood magic, I think that those nodes are going to be really beefy and tanky, so they're going to be really big mana percentages, and I think it's going to be a really key factor for some hardcore players. And I really would like to see those nodes and this being used with the well, they're gonna have to bring back the Cloak of Defiance. The Legacy won this league, so
yeah,
that's gonna be kind
yeah.
of cool.
I hope that they're more multipliers and not increased, because there's plenty of increased mana. Like the increase would have to be massive, and for it to be really, really worth it.
I guess that wouldn't matter because with Mind Over Matter, you don't get those mana nodes. So I retract that statement that I just said.
It depends. That's not necessarily true. Like this league, I did Tukahama. I think it's Tukahama's Fortress, the one that gives you an extra totem, and that gives you blood magic. But I still got the life wheels behind blood magic just because of how much life it gives you.
Oh, you can just grab them right behind it.
You still have to go through it.
Oh, okay.
Like, you don't
well,
get
you
it
still
on the
have to
skill tree.
go.
But what I'm saying is like the life behind blood magic equals 35% for
Right.
3 points. So it's a total of 4 points for 35%. And then 50% less reserved. So if you wanted to reserve a little bit of your life for like not a clarity, something like some kind of aura or something, I don't know what, but some people reserve their life total. I choose not. Yeah.
Right. So also we got Claw, Staff, and Sword passive have received some special attention and should be now more powerful overall. That's pretty straightforward there.
What do you think about the claws? Do you think that because they've been getting so much hate recently, do you think that they're going to overbuff claws by chance?
I think if they were going to do that, they possibly would have did that the last time with Blade Flurry.
I wouldn't say it's on purpose.
I mean, when Blade Flurry came out, that should have just been claw only. They need a claw only kind of thing.
Yeah. I really thought the same thing. They need something unique to claws that only claws can do. Like swords can bleed. They have like the claws like leech on it, but like I don't think that's unique at all. That's just like, I don't know, it's kind of boring. I want something cool. Like if maybe even just, I don't know, it'd be busted, but poison. I mean, having poison on there, if they can fix the double dipping, then it would be as good as bleed, and it would just be a nice little additive. Something like that, maybe. I don't know. A little overpowered, but something unique, something fun.
It's not a bad idea.
I don't think having leech on it is fun. And claws kind of make sense to have poison. Well, daggers probably make more sense, but claws too.
It'd be nice.
The most exciting thing that one of the most exciting things that I have read from this, it's something small, but it's something that I've always like hated while planning skill trees, is the Vitality Void and Spirit Void cluster near the Duelist area getting rearranged. I mean, I guess it depends on how they rearrange it, but I love that cluster. That cluster is amazing. And then the fact that they're joining it from the bottom and the top, I think. I really like that. I think that's a staple for a lot of my builds if I go life based, or even sometimes if I'm CI, going down there is worth it. I love it.
Yeah, I like how they're finally giving you that option. Usually, you know, I pick my pathing to go above, you know, because that's the only way to grab it. But now I can, you know, make my pathing a little more different.
And the fact that the cluster over by the shadow area is now from all attack damage, not just physical. So there's 2 clusters over there. There's 2, I think 4%. Blood Drinker 4% for life leech, and then there is Mind Drinker, which is 4% attack damage, leeches mana. So this is gonna be amazing for a lot of reasons. Like 0.4% doesn't seem like a lot, but the amount of damage you do, the leech becomes. I mean, you might just be able to manage your mana just by that one node, Mind Drinker. So I'm really excited for that. That's something that I've wanted ever since I've made skill trees. So that's cool.
Nice. Yeah, I think that's gonna be huge. Really big for your witch builds and whatnot over there. Well, pretty much witch. Is there any leech you can get over there? You know me, I'm not much of a spellcaster.
That's the thing. You have to, like, if you're a spellcaster right now, you have to get most of your leech either from Warlord's Mark or leech enchant from Boots. Sometimes people travel all the way down to Duelist to get those, that cluster, Vitality Voids and Spirit Void. And there's like so many wasted points, but it's so nice. Or they go Berserker. That's just free leech right there. That's pretty fun. That's what I did. But yeah, I mean, having the leech a little accessible. It's small amounts of leech, so that's why I like it. That it doesn't invalidate the Vitality Void Spirit Void cluster because it's only 0.4%. It just gives the top right hand side a little love,
right?
Without over giving it. It's nice.
That's good. The sword crit cluster has been made part of the Ranger's large exterior sword cluster. The other path of the sword cluster has been significantly reworked to grant more power. And that's kind of what we touched on a little bit ago when we were talking about how they moved that. What I'm kind of interested in is the fact that they took Master Fletcher bow cluster out of, just completely gone. Because I mean, I've never used it. A lot of people
I'm okay with that.
But they put Avatar of the Hunt in its old location. I really don't remember where that's at, but I'm pretty sure it's in that area.
So Avatar of the Hunt is to the right of Valpact, and the problem that a lot of people didn't take Avatar of the Hunt, and I almost took it when I was making the bow character that I just made.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is it's in such a weird spot. You typically have to travel at least 1 point to it, and then having it where Master Fletcher is. It's really, really nice because it's on the path to go to like Vitality Void or the projectile nodes down underneath Duelist, like Fury of Bolts and Frenzy Charges and stuff like that. So because it's on the way, it makes it way more efficient. And I really like the extra move speed that it gives you, a little fizz damage and move speed. But I mean, like, I don't know, I like it. I like that cluster. I've always wanted it, just I didn't want to travel to it.
No,
Avatar of the Hunt is movement speed and fizz damage for both.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I was getting confused.
You're thinking of
you already know.
Revenge of the Hunted. It's hunt in both of them, so it's easy mistake.
So that's the movement speed one that nobody gets. Okay.
Yep.
I
really like it.
I grabbed that in one of my builds. I was trying to max out that movement speed.
Yep. Your lab runner, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then we've brushed up on the leech effects of the shadow area. The next cluster that I really like talking about, arcing blows and crackling speed has been combined, and arcing speed has been improved. That's pretty insane. So there are two clusters over there by the witch area, and I don't know. I mean, I think people still take. I think people really took both of them. I guess it just depends, but. I mean, you get penetration for arcing blows, and then extra wed, and then, well, that's a little weird, actually. Now that I'm looking at, like, arcing blows gives 30% increased lightning damage with weapons, but crackling speed gives cast speed and lightning damage, and a little bit of crit multi. So it's a little strange that they're like kind of forcing that to be for wed builds, not for spellcasters. But it makes it a really fucking juicy cluster, I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Well, I'll change up a couple things over on that side of the tree. As when I say that, I mean like in the build region. You'll see some new builds out of that. That's what I like when they change that. Changes everything.
Yeah, a lot of these changes are going to shake things up quite a bit, and that's what a lot of people are asking for. They got sick and tired of, like, if you look at people's builds, right? Say you're a streamer like we are, and we're making a build, and we don't look up at any builds. We don't go to the internet. We don't copy any skill tree, and we make a skill tree, and we plan it, and we try to make it as efficient as possible. and then we like do the build, and then somebody comes in our channel, does a build commander, like, oh, you just copied X and X build. It's like, no, it's just the problem is that when you're trying to be as efficient as possible, you tend to only be like pinholed into doing the best route. So that means that everyone that wants to do that kind of build look the same. I'm really hoping that with these changes, it kind of adds a little bit of diversity. That'd be cool.
Oh yeah, we're definitely gonna see some definite changes, man. Let's see, Master of the Force, the physical cluster in the Scion area. Wow, trying to bring back that Scion. And Ash, Frost, and Storm, the elemental cluster in the Scion area, now grant a small value of reduced reflect damage taken of their type.
Yeah, I've never taken Master of Force. It's to the left of Volpact.
Yeah.
I don't understand why they say it's in the Scion area. It's really not. It's nowhere near Scion. But it's more of like between Ranger and the Duel or and the Shadow.
Maybe it's because it's like on that
physical
pathway
cluster in the Scion area. Yeah, I don't know. The Fire, Ash, and what is it? Ash, Frost, and Storm is there, and I've used that before in my Wild Strike build, and it's very nice because it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. I like it.
And then many other changes have been made to passive positioning and values to improved underused passive skills, which is really nice. So they're looking at what people aren't really using.
Yeah, I'm stoked to get this skill tree. I'm ready to fucking make some builds.
I'm gonna bring us into some elemental conversion.
Yeah, I mean they're changing a lot of the values on elemental conversion for weapons because it's always been a bit too easy. Like if you want to like convert 100% of one thing to another, it's like you've got this frost skill that ignites things, and it's 2 items that do that, and it's just like I got Pyre and call the Brotherhood. Yay! Now I'm like, I can convert whatever I want to whatever, and it's just I don't know. When you have a go-to thing that makes like say lightning, when you're always converting it to frost because you want to, or cold because you want to shatter everything, and lightning doesn't really do anything but shock's so easy to obtain, you might as well just convert it all to cold if you can. At least this makes it a little bit more difficult, but then easier for physical.
So we had mentioned, we were talking about Ice Shot a minute ago, about the conversion on that. So now I have 60% physical conversion, or physical to cold conversion, up from 40%. Think that's really gonna help it, or
I think so. Especially when you have a lot of the skills that like I mean they're changing Frostblades and Ice Shot to have 60%, and that used to be 40. And then the Wild Strike converting 100%, which used to be 60. And it was really cool because when I was making my Wild Strike build, I was in that really weird scenario where I'm like, okay, am I scaling? If I scale physical, I'm only getting 60% of that, converted over to elemental. So there's still some physical and some elemental. And then if you don't convert it and you just scale like all elemental damage in like of whatever type, then you're just kind of like, I don't know, you're only getting 60% effectiveness of everything you scale, which is frustrating.
All right, so they did a unique item rebalance. Now, apparently this is, from what we see, is going to be completely separate of what they had already showed us, but maybe not. We'll see. Over 100 unique items have been rebalanced with the focus of improving underused uniques that didn't have a strong role in the game. We tried to make sure that all the uniques either have a positive impact on leveling characters, act as a good item to wield when first entering maps, or a defined role for in-game characters. They say they have more changes upcoming in the future. I kind of would like to see what they have and kind of see what they have in mind. I figured a lot of the rebalance was going to be them just changing saws, claws, and swords and daggers and all that stuff. I thought that's kind of what that was going to entail, but maybe they're going to bring back some good things.
Yeah, when they say they've rebalanced 100 unique items, and then they kind of go in on the details of making it like good uniques for leveling, good uniques for mapping, and then good uniques for end game. I'm really hoping that it's not just like number changes, like they take like the implicit of something and increase it, or they take the we'll say like a life sprig and a life sprig of good. So we'll say they take like a sword and they like add like more damage to it. That's not really what the leveling needs. I think I would like to see unique things on like leveling gear, like unique things on mapping gear, and
like new mods, right?
yeah, new mods, or like I don't know, like special little like things that they can use to make it a little interesting while leveling up, or while just getting into maps. I don't know really exactly, but yeah, new mods, I guess, new like interesting mods that help you while you're leveling. Maybe like increased experience gained in a little percentage, and then
Because they only
stuff
have
like
that
that.
on a couple of
Yeah, like
items.
2 or 3 pieces, I think.
Three.
It's like
Like
very small.
is it the Supreme Truth? Is that what the thing is
I've never
called?
used it.
And
I've
then
never used
the
any of them.
Shittus Apex, and then the Paranda Signet, or whatever, the rings, the Parandus rings.
Yeah, I remember that I found like the Piranda Signet earlier in the league, in this past league, and it sold for a decent bit, so pretty happy about that. But yeah, I'm just really hoping for this change to really, when they say that they're meaning for them to be specific. I mean, how many junk uniques do you find that just don't have a role? That's what I want. I want those to have a role. I want those to be cool.
What
So
says they managed to make changes to a significant number of older uniques.
I like
So
that. I really hope it's good.
yeah,
And then of course, I also hope that this the 100 uniques, I hope it doesn't count the 40 uniques that are from Legacy League, and then I hope it doesn't count like all the daggers and the claws and the one-handed maces and staves. I hope those unique implicits changing doesn't count as 100, because that's dumb. Like that number would
I'd
be
be so
completely
mad.
nothing if that was all contained into the 100 unique. So I really hope it's like they take Ungul's Gauche and they make it cool or something like that. It's a good claw to use if you're leveling as claws for some reason, but give it something cool.
All right, that brings us into some.
Void Home.
Oh, maybe I should scroll down over here. That brings us into some Void Home. Brings us into one-handed weapon damage and weapon implicits. That's a really big change right here. Really big change.
A really big lie. And last patch that they brought, like when they announced the Legacy League, and then they said that they were going to make changes across the board to all one-handers. This was like the direct words from the post. They said we are increasing or buffing one-handers across the board. And then you read this: daggers now have a lower implicit value. That's not a buff.
Wow.
They didn't exclude daggers. I understand daggers are powerful, and I'm not saying this isn't deserved. What I'm saying is they choose their words poorly sometimes, and it's gonna bite them in the ass. It's gonna piss off people.
I'm so mad. You just ruined my dagger by a lot.
It's crit chance, which for some builds is difficult. So this is gonna be a frustrating thing. For some builds, it's difficult to get the amount of crit that you need to crit cap or get close to crit cap.
Well,
and then having these high implicit items, it makes it easier.
it's not a lot though. I mean, okay, so you've got a dagger with
30%
80
on the highest crit.
Yeah, you're losing 30% on your but that 80% is like the global, correct?
Yeah,
So it's only
global.
like maybe 2 or 3%, like altogether.
Maybe
But see, the reasoning though is it says it's to reduce the impact of specific base types out on weapon choices. So it's like use the ambush for this or use this for that. So
Right.
it's supposed to change that. I don't know. So
And lower the power of standout critical caster weapon base types. So essentially, they're just like, yeah. I mean, I like it overall. I'm okay with it because, like I said, daggers are extremely OP. Like you take Albinos and put it on an assassin, and you can do all content without a problem. So
they had some reasoning.
Even with this nerf, I think it's fine.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like it might, the nerf might suck. You're not gonna lose a hell of a lot of crit, but it might actually change the way people craft now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
for sure, because it's all. I mean,
Yeah, nobody's ever
different.
going to use the 30% value or the 40. They're always going to use the 50, and nothing's going to change. They're just going to use the highest one.
Yeah, because I don't know all the daggers offhand, but some people use the one with the lower crit chance because of the attack speed or whatever.
But that was before we found out that shield charge doesn't use the base weapon, the base attack speed for your weapon. It uses whatever local percentage attack speed you have on it. So now that has changed. So now it's just use the highest crit chance.
I did not know that.
Yeah. Yeah, somebody had kind of did a comparison. He did a dagger that said it was faster attack speed. It was like 1.7%. Like the base was like maybe we'll say the base was 1.4 and it had like 10% attack speed on it, which made it like 1.6 or so. Then he would like shield charge across the screen, and then he put in a weapon that was base of like 1.1 or 1.2, but it had like 27% attack speed, and the increased attack speed that was on it just made it way faster. You could clearly tell the difference. So that's something you guys know.
Lower level claw base types that granted life leech now grant life on hit as life. That granted life leech now grant life gain on hit as life leech had very little effect at lower levels. I'm sorry, I just butchered that. I was like, what? Huh?
I love this because a lot of times when you have percent leech at low level, you're doing 100 damage and you have 0.4% leech. It's nothing. It means nothing at all. But what really makes me happy with this is I don't know if you've ever leveled a Molten Strike build, but all the orbs that fly off of Molten Strike give you life on hit, and you're pretty much unkillable as long as you don't get one shot, because you just have like 10 to 15 balls flying off your weapon, and they're all every single monster they hit and every single ball that hits gives you the whatever life on hit. So if it's like 10 life on hit, every ball gives you 10 life on hit, and it's better than leech in most cases. It's pretty awesome, and it's quick. There's no like recharge time, or there's no like life leech has like a duration that it goes, and unless you have Vault Pact, this is just instant, which is awesome. I'm super happy about that.
Yeah, I kind of hope that it'll maybe change a little bit of some leveling. Not that anybody uses claws for leveling, but
When I made my Molten Strike character, I did. I made 2 of those bitches. I love that skill. It's so good and bad at the same time. So we've got the Marcos base types, Double Claw, Twin Claw, and Gemini Claw now have separate life and mana on hit values, as they now grant more life on hit. You know, that's nice. It's just kind of one of those quality of life things. Nothing really too big there. Got Thrusting Swords have a higher chance to bleed. And then they nerfed Thrusting Swords to have a lower crit multiplier. The ones that have crit. 20% chance to bleed. I mean, depending on the math, I've never really done a bleed build because bleeds don't stack, so it kind of makes them shit. I don't think anybody's gonna use them, right? Like, let's be real.
If someone decides to kind of come up with something, I mean,
if there was a unique that made bleed stack, even if it was like a limitation, like we'll say 20 stacks of bleed, instead of like poison right now is being so busted because you can stack it infinitely. But if there was,
is there an essence?
no, I don't think there's anything right now. There's nothing that increases the amount of bleed that they can have, to my knowledge.
No, is there an essence that gives you a chance to bleed? Really, because that might be interesting if you could craft the right. Because isn't the merit cast is not
Nope.
no, I was gonna say that's not the top. It's like the top 3 crafting bases. I don't remember.
Use Headhunter's Still Corrupted Blood.
Oh well, but yeah, I see what you mean. It's quality of life, but I don't know who uses that. To be honest.
Yeah, very rarely. I mean, even like Azur's the favor, if it didn't have as much damage as it has, and like the +2 ranged, and even if like the fact that it has bleed isn't really that big a deal. It's just the good damage and the range is what makes it amazing.
One-handed maces now grant stun threshold at 10 to 15% rather than the stun duration at 20 to 40% to increase their ability to stun.
See, I really like this, although the biggest problem that I have is I did a Vigilant Strike build back in the day, a Slayer, which is like really good at stunning things.
Mm-hmm.
And I was able to consistently keep endurance charges up the whole time. So I had like a Vigil Strike is like the highest damage hitting skill in the game. It gives free Fortify. It can't miss. It was insane. It's crazy good. But unless you go to bosses like Adziri and Izaro, and I made the character specifically to farm Uber Lab, and then I come to find out that he's completely immune to stun no matter how big a negative threshold you have, which I feel like is ass.
Wow.
I feel like if you stack it enough, you should be able to overcome it. Make it very, very difficult, but like if they go all in, I feel like that's an accomplishment at that point.
That's
You're investing
reasonable.
so much.
But I mean, it's still gotta have to have a cap rate that's like, capping off block. You really need to go higher than 75. Alright, so all staffs have had their block values increase previously. Staffs granted either 12% block chance or 18% chance. Now it's 18 to 20, respectively. It's alright.
That's a pretty big buff to Zergle's Crank.
Yeah.
That's the one that when you block, you have you restart your energy shield regen.
That would be pretty good because people actually use that.
Yeah, with what is it, the Occultist? Pretty sure it's the Occultist. Wicked Ward. Energy shield is not interrupted by damage if recharge began recently. So you have a 20% chance every time you block to start your recharge, and then it'll recharge at least for 4 seconds, which is pretty crazy because then you just stack a bit of recharge speed, and then you could just like get a shit ton of recharge, a recharge rate rather. I like it.
All right, and last but not least, Paleo, you want to take that one-handed, two-handed sword base types?
Almost half of the one-handed and two-handed sword base types now grant flat accuracy instead of increased accuracy. This should make them more desirable for characters that don't naturally have high accuracy from rating from dexterity, which I really like. The percentages doesn't do shit. You can have 130% accuracy, but if you don't have the dexterity to give you the flat accuracy, or if you don't have a shit ton from jewelry, or like other pieces of gear as well, helmet, gloves, then the percentage on the item does nothing.
Do you have any flat at all in the tree?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's.
I didn't think there was any in the tree. I thought it was all percentage, and your flat is just on your dexterity.
Path of the Hunter, which is to the right of Scion, has a really low amount, but 20 to accuracy rating.
So there's at least one node that you can get with a flat. But other than that, everything's percent.
Yeah, it's such a small number. I believe there's other areas that have like a very small number, but most of it's, you're right, most of it's percentage, if not every other node, but that one, 20%, 20. Yeah, I think it's literally that one node, maybe. Everything else is percentage. And the swords. Nope, swords are percentage as well.
Maybe this will help make some one-handed swords more desirable. I mean, if it's a nice flat accuracy, I mean, 2 one-handed swords with a nice flat accuracy. I mean, if we have the right buffs and all, I mean, obviously no one wants to do that right now.
Yeah, Born to Fight's another one by Marauder to the left. It gives another 20 accuracy.
So low, man.
Yeah, I mean, like 20 accuracy is absolutely nothing. When you look at like your character and you have to figure out like how much accuracy you need to cap, and then every time you gain a level, that accuracy, it has diminishing returns essentially. Your accuracy rating goes down as you level up, and it kind of sucks. I mean, it really does. When you like, I think that it's a good change now, though, that they're changing this. That I'd rather have flat, but it has to be a significant amount. Like I'm talking like 200 to 400. Yeah, exactly. Like Dicey said, 400 accuracy. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah,
that's a significant amount. But even at 400, that's still you still need accuracy on gear, which is fine. I'm not saying that it should be like easy peasy, like your weapon covers your accuracy, because that'd just be dumb as well.
And what tier is that weapon anyway? I mean, because
well, Var Nostra is like league restricted, and it's end game. I mean, it's
well, Var Nostra is going to make it GG, but like, I mean, is the one-handed sword like a tier 5? You know what I'm saying? If it's a mid-tier crafting base, I mean, no one's really gonna want it. If it's in the top 3, then yeah, I could see that. I could see people.
So Var Nostra is a Vol Blade.
Okay.
And it has 18% accuracy rating on it right now.
Val Blade should be in top 3.
One-handed sword. Vol Blade is 4th tier.
Oof.
So it goes Vol Blade, Eternal Sword, Midnight Blade, and then Tiger Hook.
Anything above it have accuracy?
They all have accuracy. The ones that except for Tiger Hook, everything else has accuracy that I mentioned. Let's see, Vol Blade. So then Legion Sword is 18%, Gladius 18%, Corsair 18%. Pretty much everything but the hooks, the grappler swords, the Tiger hooks. They all have accuracy. So they'll have flat. I am gonna be curious what I'm guessing it'll scale obviously with the base. So you'll probably want. I mean, we might even see people using other sword bases, which will be sweet. Like an Eternal Sword. It's got a high attack speed, the highest high-end DPS of a one-hander. I don't think I've ever seen anyone craft an Eternal Sword.
I don't know.
So that'll be interesting.
I don't think anybody's crafted a sword.
Well, yeah. Like they do foils if they want to do anything. But like accuracy swords have been so useless. But that'll be cool once they add the flat.
Alright, let's get down to the nasty here. This area of effect changes. Let's get ready for the salts.
Kind of. Like, okay, so it's somewhat of a nerf, but at the same time, it's somewhat relieving. Like, every time you make a build, you're like, how much AoE can I get? I have to use the Dying Sun. I have to get the sword, the clusters by above Witch. I have to get the clusters to the left of Inquisitor. I have to use the increased area gem, and I have to get all the flask effectiveness as a Pathfinder to make Dying Sun give more AoE.
So you can counter your conk effects.
I have to use quality to make sure everything's big. I think that with this, it's kind of nice because there'll be a certain point where you get the AoE that you're satisfied with, and then now that you know that every point after that is just going to be a little bit more, then it's not really worth it, and then you can allocate those points elsewhere. I'm just hoping it's not too much of a nerf. That's my hope. Essentially, the easiest way to explain this change is diminishing returns. The more you have of it, the less effective it is. Think of like if you've ever played World of Warcraft, that was always a very big thing with diminishing returns. The more crit rating you got, the less effective it was. And now they're doing this with increased area of effect. So I like it because, like I said, it allows you to not just focus on one thing.
Like my chat there.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, I'm pretty interested to see how this is going to take a precedent on a lot of the meta builds that rely on AoE, and I don't know. I don't know how to feel about this.
Like, you've seen the shield charge discharge, right? I mean, that shit's stupid.
Well,
that has so much AoE and one shots the screen.
I thought that was done though. I thought that's why Baked Chicken took off.
Nope. I've watched many streamers this league fly through it and off-screen things with discharge. It's insane. The thing that they changed was the single target's not as good. But a lot of things we learned in this game is that there's characters that specialize in certain things, and then they just do those things. You don't need to be the jack of all trades. You don't need to be able to map insanely fast and kill endgame bosses. You just make a character that's designed to do one thing or the other. And you can design a character that can do both things decently well. but it's never going to be as fast as Valspark or Shield Charge Discharge. It just never will be.
Right.
No matter how strong the character is. If he's designed for bosses, he's going to kill bosses faster than those builds, but they're going to run 3 maps in the time it takes you to run 1. Which I'm fine with. I like that. Build diversity a little bit, you know.
So I was going to say, I'm going to use this as a comparison. They said, as an example of how this change will work, the map mod that granted increased radius of boss skills previously granted 40% increased area of effect radius, but now will grant 100% increased area, which results in approximately the same increase to area. So there's a conversion for you.
Yeah, they give you kind of an example. The thing is we won't really know exactly how bad it is. Like, you can take their example and like say it's a 60% nerf in essence, but we don't know like the values of the new AOE. Like Amplify gives you increased radius by 5%, and they're stating that they're increasing. So essentially you're going from 40% to 100%. If all the nodes go up in that same kind of percentage, then Amplify is going to give like, I don't know, 12.5% increased area, or increased AOE, but it's going to be roughly the same as it was before.
Right.
But then it's going to have diminishing returns, essentially. I'm okay with it. I don't know.
We'll see. We'll have to touch up on that more once it's implemented, because it's, I mean, I get it. It's just a real gray area now.
The thing that I'm a little confused about is what their intent is when they're nerfing things like AoE. Because like the game doesn't have, and there is a ladder, but like there's no reward for the ladder. So the person playing the meta build that clears everything super fast and gets to a level 100, there's no advantage that they're gaining besides just clearing screens quickly. The only thing I could say is maybe it like deters people from playing other builds because it's not as efficient, and they like see these streamers flying around just one-shotting the entire screen, and then they do their build and they're like, fuck this.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, that's the only thing I can think about. I don't know. I guess we'll see. Yeah. I like the melee splash change though. Melee splash now gains significantly more increased area than it did during increased radius at the gem levels, bringing it much closer to equivalent to area skills. So essentially, melee splash is going to turn melee into AoE skills.
Xbox.
Yeah, I definitely can see that as an Xbone change. Well, it's also quality of life. Let's be real. I like it.
I like it. That's one of my favorite gems, man. And speaking of
the items that give you free melee splash.
Speaking of skills, let's get into these skill balance adjustments. See, a small number of skills have had their damage values adjusted. Damage increase has been applied to 2 skills that we're satisfied with the mechanics of, but felt like they didn't deal enough damage. We got Sunder, now deals more damage when it's direct hit, but less damage when it's secondary area effects. I can't talk.
I like it. I've used Sunder a lot while leveling. And then you got to a certain point and you get to like level 28, you're like, nah, I use Earthquake because Earthquake hits harder. Because a single target was the biggest issue. And like I said, killing trash has never been an issue. Like you have to have you pretty much have enough damage regardless of anything to kill trash. Like you can have like you can clear things with a 1 skilled gem and run around and kill trash. That's not hard. So that's cool. This is like a very good change, I feel. Depends on how much damage. There's no like numbers there, but it does say more damage. So it's a more increased, which is good. But then at the same time, see, it deals more damage. Maybe I don't know if that's just a wrong wording that they used, but because it says it deals more damage, and then Ice Crash has increased damage, and obviously there's the difference between more and increased, but that could just be them
wording it wrong,
wording it improperly with their own words.
Hey, so just like you just said, Ice Crash. I can't talk, man. I don't know why. Ice Crash has had its damage increased. How do you feel about that? I've never played Ice Crash, ever.
I played Ice Crash when I was a noob, like way back in the day. Like I think it was my first best character, and it was like my first 6 linked character, like the character that had like enough wealth to accumulate a 6 link. And I replayed it today actually because I saw that they had said they were going to increase Ice Crash, and I'm like, let's see, like I want to see like what it was like, so I had a comparison to the pre-nerf and then or pre-buff state, you know.
Right.
And I was running through. I had a 465 PTPS mace, 6 linked, and I was running through. What the hell was I? I don't even know. I don't even think he was ascended. We'll say that. That's that old. It's pre-ascendancy. I was running through Merciless, Dried Lake, and it wasn't one-shotting rares at all. And it took like 10 to 15 swings to kill Vol. So obviously it's not crit. It was like a very tanky character, sure, but I don't know. I hope the increase is pretty huge. I mean, I guarantee you that my build was not done well, but I can just tell you from when I played back then compared to the builds that I've made now, it looked like complete shit. I don't know. I guess we'll see. And you know, I've seen other people try to make it good, and watching them, it just didn't feel good to watch. So I hope this change is. I mean, the skill looks cool. If you get enough AOE, it looks massive. Like just fucking
if
giant,
you get enough
like,
what?
rings of AOE. That's getting nerfed too. Well, but they did say the skills are getting more area on their base levels. So that's. I don't know. We'll have to see. Like Ice Crash has a really small radius, and it says as many lower level skills don't have a high base area, they will now receive an additional flat bonus to radius at certain levels of the gem. That's cool. So hopefully that's one of them. And then Blade Flurry is getting nerfed.
Ooh, that's nasty.
There might be some
it
soft,
needed
but
it
like,
though. It needed
yeah,
it. It's too overpowered. I literally can kill a twin tier 15 map with that motherfucker, no problem. Like Malachi core or whatever.
Yeah.
Dual Malachi.
I
I was
mean,
like, it attacks so fast. I mean, the leech. It's just
well, especially with the one-hander changes. I mean,
it needs it.
it's if they didn't change it with the one-handers, it would be even more busted than it already is. And I still feel like they're not going to nerf it heavily enough with all the one-handed changes. I still think it's going to be super strong. Definitely easy league starter, like no problem. Easy league starter. Should be able to do everything. Unless they nerf it by like a substantial percentage, which I don't think they should do. It shouldn't kill their skill. It's a cool skill. I like it a lot. I like the playstyle of it. It's good.
See, now, okay, we both agree. We get that. We both agree that it needed to be done. But what kind of left field shit is this? Val Haste and Val Discipline both get nerfed?
I like it.
Why?
It's one of those staples that like you're forced to use it. And Val Haste, it says
it's so
slightly. Good. Yeah, Val Haste is like it says slightly.
It's already at
it's gonna be like 1 to 2%. It's fine. It's really really good.
It's already at like 8% or something.
You can have Val. That's why I said 1 or 2% nerf. I mean, they can't nerf it in half percentages. That'd be weird. But I mean, like you can have Val Haste up the entire time. Like if you're very very fast clearing build, and Val Discipline, its design in my eyes is to start your energy shield and get you through a burn that you're like maybe you're like extremely ignited or you're taking a lot of heavy damage. You Val Discipline and it regens you through that. There's no reason for it to have flat. Like people like, especially when you're like scaling when you're scaling energy shield so high with like guardians and shit, and then they give you Val Discipline and they go from like we'll say 14k to like 30k ES because of this fucking skill that you can probably have up the entire time in like AoE clearing scenarios.
Right.
I like it a lot. I like it inadvertently makes life a little better. We'll see. There's no life changes. What the fuck? Still.
Whoa! I just noticed.
Nothing on life.
I was gonna start moving us into these threshold jewels, and I didn't really read the threshold. I read what they were doing to the 3 threshold jewels that they mentioned, but I didn't read that all threshold jewels now require 40 of their chosen attribute to be available in the area, and no longer required to be allocated.
That's insane. That's so good. The threshold jewels were always one of those things where it's like you're sacrificing a jewel slot automatically by using that. And then that jewel slot has to make up for that jewel slot you're losing and then make up for all the skill points that you had to take retardedly around that area.
And the majority of the time, you're not just using one.
Yeah, you're taking like dumb intellect nodes or dumb dexterity nodes that like don't really do a hell of a ton. They're just kind of like filler points to like just get this jewel to work. Now the thing that I don't like is they call it a threshold jewel now, but I don't even think they should even call it a threshold jewel because most of the spots you're going to put it in are going to be pretty easy to pick. Now that you don't even have to have it allocated, there's no point. Yeah, it's just weird.
I mean, like Barrage, like that's, I mean, it's a threshold jewel, but is it really a threshold? I don't know. But anyways,
I mean, it is because you have to have 50 dex allocated, but now you don't even have to have the 50 dex allocated. Now it's 40 dex in the area of the gem, of the jewel. I think it's cool because it saves points and it makes it not as difficult, at least, to plan a build out, but I don't know.
Yeah, I was gonna say they actually said many have a maximum number of jewels that type that blip blip. I'm losing it in here. They put limits on all the jewels. See, I can't read stuff. I can tell you what I'm thinking. They put limits on most of the threshold jewels to compensate for what they did with the 40 thing and whatnot. But
yeah, but like, I mean, like Rolling Flame, like that doesn't have any, like it doesn't mention that they have any kind of limitations unless they're just saying that like they did put limitations on them. What's this here? Many have a maximum number of jewels that have a yeah, like they're not saying that they put max number of or they're not limiting I don't think they're limiting the current ones. I think they're just saying that a lot of the ones have a limitation, thus it makes us a little bit more flexible to allow that change. But like things like rolling flames, the fireball increased area if they go a certain distance, I don't think that's limited at all unless they change.
Okay, so touching back on what you were talking about a little bit ago, your Vigilant Strike, right? You said you did in one of those builds?
Yep.
Well, how do you feel about it now having a threshold jewel? What? Granting Fortify for 20 seconds? Up to 3 seconds?
For allies.
Up from 3 seconds, I mean.
Yeah, like...
Oh, for allies?
For allies. The only thing, the only situation I can see this being good is if you have a support that's or a bot already, and now he can give you Fortify, which makes the supports more broken. Because we needed that. Because supports aren't good enough. Like, just seems weird.
I can see Heavy Strike doing pretty good. I don't know about Viper Strike.
The Heavy Strike thing, 20% chance for double damage. I mean, I've watched people use Heavy Strike, and it pains me.
Well, see, you're limited to 2, so you automatically get a 40% chance. That's almost a freaking coin flip, man, to do double damage. Double damage.
Maybe there might be like a single target Heavy Strike setup where you get like really fast attack speed, and then you can proc that a bunch, and maybe with poison it double dips with poison because it gives double poison damage. Because we love to double dip with poison, you know.
Yeah, if you could make that work.
Then Viper Strike, people are saying it's somewhat of a nerf because you can get poison on a lot of enemies pretty quickly, and the prior version was 2% of physical damage per poisoned enemy around you, and I don't think there was any limit or anything. But I don't know. I like the free Unholy Might on hit per stack of poison. That's pretty much like saying I'm getting free Unholy Might all the time without having to use anything but a jewel. And even it's on hit, so there's no like, you don't have to kill something for it. You don't have to have it on a flask. I don't know. I think it's pretty strong. I like it.
All right. Well, that pretty much sums that up, huh?
Yeah, I mean, over the next couple of days, apparently there's going to be some more revealed things, like with the skill tree and whatnot, and we can kind of go over stuff that we didn't go over now, but that's pretty much it.
Well, we'll take a couple of questions here in a minute, guys, if y'all have any. I didn't see too many, but just in case. I wanted to take the time to say, be sure to check out Poe Talk on Paleo Gamer's YouTube channel. You can also catch them on polab.com. I'm going to throw this one up there as well. Put this on, I don't know, my YouTube channel, Paleo's YouTube channel, something. It'll be up there, and then we'll throw it on Reddit.
Yeah, we'll throw a link out there.
And
if you guys liked this, let us know in the comments of either the YouTube channel or the Reddit. This is the very first time we've ever decided to like make just like a me and him joint content. We'll call it. If you guys like us going over the patch notes, giving our ideas about it, giving our thoughts about it, then let us know. And let us know if you would like us to do different things. Maybe if you have any positive feedback, it'd be great. Constructive feedback is always something we accept and try to build off of that.
And I'm gonna throw a link to the community PoLab Discord channel probably in the description below. I'll throw it in chat. You guys are welcome to come in there, ask questions, and hang out, whatever you guys want. And I think I'm gonna try to put a text channel there for y'all's questions that we can get to, or suggestions for streams and podcast, whatnot, so we can get a little more hands-on. What am I trying to say? More hands-on with you guys, basically. Boom.
All right, so one of the questions we have: how strong do you think that freezing pulse will be in 2.6, and also how it compares to EK?
If I'm not mistaken, it's supposed to work with point and blank now. So
yeah, I guess there was some kind of, like, I didn't even know this. I guess there was some kind of bug where it wasn't, point blank wasn't affecting it. Which is, I don't know, it's frost. Is it considered a projectile? Freezing pulse?
I believe so, yeah.
It does. Wow, yeah, okay.
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't really think of it as a projectile because it was like a slashing like type deal. So yeah, that's interesting because I've seen freezing pulse builds take down Shaper. I mean, I guess you could say that any build can take down Shaper, but now you're gonna have 50% more projectile damage. Pretty good. And then of course the free projectiles that are on that jewel that's coming out. There's 2 free projectiles per jewel with a limit of 2. So you can have 4 free projectiles, which means that you don't have to run GMP.
Point blank is for attack projectiles, apparently.
It's just projectile attacks.
I think it...
Oh yeah, look at that. Somebody was saying something about point blank would affect it now.
Well, time out. I mean, Nago Amu's axe, that's a skill that comes off that, is it not?
I think it's an attack skill.
Okay.
I think it's still an attack skill. Alright, well.
Regardless,
somebody had said it, so they misfed us information.
Thank you, TZN.
But either way, Freezing Pulse still has the new jewel that's coming out that gives you GMP for free, which means that you're getting 4 projectiles without the less multiplier, which means you can run another damage gem, which is insane. I think it's really, really good. I think Freezing Pulse will be very strong.
They said Life Leech might get nerfed, probably Valpact. Does this mean ES face tank gonna go to shit? I don't think they're gonna they're gonna nerf Valpact.
Yeah, I mean, nowhere in these patch notes that we're looking at now say anything about it. There might be like a I mean, I agree that certain things should be nerfed because, I mean, if you don't get one shot, you can just leech back to full with Volpact, and that's always been a problem, especially with Vinktars. I don't think Volpact's the problem. I think the flasks are the problem, and that's kind of how they've always been for a while. I feel like flask effectiveness is a problem. I feel like flask effectiveness should be removed from the skill tree and only be a part of the Pathfinder Ascendancy, so that it's kind of like a specialized thing. They shouldn't be anywhere else in the skill tree. I like having the classes be specifically for what they are.
All right.
What other questions you guys got?
What did I say? Well, that's probably it for the questions then. It's been a few minutes. I think they'd get us on some more. Oh, and he said also how it compares to EK.
I've never played an EK build, fortunately, so I can't really answer that.
That's
I can
like
tell you that
my first builds, I don't remember it.
I can tell you that it's probably going to be really, really good.
How likely are we to see new Viper Strike builds? If you see Viper Strike builds, they're just hard to find. I think it'll kick off a little bit more. I don't think it's gonna go meta or anything. I don't know, maybe one-handed sword Viper Strike for the win.
I mean, Ziggy did a Viper Strike build for, I think it was last league. He played hardcore. He did it up to like level 92 or 93. And he was able to kill, I mean, T15 bosses. I don't really know exactly what he killed, like maybe Guardian or Shaper wise. I know he died to, fuck's that guy's name? Where's like, aid me, brothers and sisters aid me or whatever. I don't know. The guy that cast SRS and I can't remember his name. But yeah, that guy. He died to him in that volcano. Yeah, fire one.
All right. That pretty much sums all this up. Maybe we can get a maybe we can get the after show with Gentry in the chat, because I see that guy creeping over there. I brought my tinfoil hat just in case. Yeah, I don't know what to do from here. Should I keep streaming? Should I find someone to host?
It's up to you, man. I'm gonna be building a dresser, and after that, I might hop on and play. Or I'm actually, you know what? I've got like schoolwork I kind of need to do, so